Ready, set, go.
Welcome to The Sweet Spot, an UpDog podcast. I'm Andrea Morissette.
And I am Jack Faley, and we are your hosts today, and we have two guests in studio with us. Well, actually, they're at our satellite studios.
Well, one of them is in your satellite studio.
Well, I guess that's true.
And technically, I think she's our host today. She's the boss lady today. So
True. All right, should we start this all? Should we restart?
No, let's leave it the same. Jack and I are going to be guests, and Brian are going to be guests of Kat leading today, and we're gonna help Kat however she needs. But Kat's going to be our primary leader of the podcast today. It's going to be great.
It's gonna be amazing.
We have a very interesting topic, right, Dre?
Yeah. What are we talking about today, Jack?
So every year at the After UpDIF, we ask our UpDIF attendees to please send us feedback on the UpDIF experience. We take a look at the surveys, we look through things, we mine the data, and when we see clear messages from our teams, we make adjustments to things. But we thought it would be very interesting to let you in on kind of some of the feedback and let you see how sometimes the feedback lets us know we need to go a different direction or we need to tweak something, and how sometimes the feedback can get us even more confused about the right way to go because we get feedback from all angles. So we're going to cover all of that today. I think this one will be very interesting for people. It is always I love it when we get the feedback because I really find it interesting. People's experiences and people's feedback and comments on ways to make things better. So That's our topic. We're going to kick it off and turn it over to Kat, who's going to kind of tell us what topic we're starting with, right?
What are you going to tell us, Kat?
All right. So first off, this year's UpDIF survey was we had the most responses ever. I went back and looked all the way back to 2018. I couldn't find the 2017 survey, so either we didn't do them or do one, or it just isn't in that Google account. But in 2018, we had 86 responses. 2019, we had 69. 2022, we had 57. 23, we had 97. 2024, we had 102. In 2025, we had 169 responses.
Yeah.
Way to go, guys, from this past year.
Yeah, that's more than 50%. That's awesome. So anyway.
Typically, if you send out a survey, like in the business world, you send out a survey and you get larger than like a 19% return rate, like that's awesome.
So kudos to you guys for giving us your feedback. All right, the first question on the survey has to do with registration and how did it go? Rate it from 1 to 5. And 85.2% of you rated it as a 5, and 12.4% of you rated it as a 4, and then the rest of the numbers were little teeny tiny numbers. Some of the things that were mentioned was almost everybody was super happy there was no scramble. Almost everybody said that it was easy to do.
Well, I'm going to continue to have scrambles throughout the year for them, though.
Some people said that they appreciated other scrambles. So, one of the interesting things was that some people thought that there needed to be longer times to make payments, but then other people appreciated that there were multiple times to make payments. So that was kind of one of the things that was all over the place. Some people, and along that line, there were people who liked that there were multiple sets of registrations to, spread the money out. But then other people were like, it should all be one. And it really should all be one. That's our goal, is to make it all one. But this year we just had, being in a brand new location, we had some loose ends that we couldn't get it all in time, and we had to get your game registration done. So our goal is for it to be all one process. So those of you that like the spread out payments, be sure and save your money so that you can do the money all at once next year. One interesting comment that I chuckled at was they said, stop with the scare tactics. Everyone always gets in.
Ben?
I
Um,
highlighted that one too. I wanted to bring up as like if they only knew behind the scenes.
right. Like
How hard it is for us to get that to happen. Yeah.
right. I mean, UpDiff literally fills every year for the past several years, and then Brian and I make magic happen to make it work. And actually, last year there were teams that did not get games that they wanted. So Mr. or Mrs. Stop with the scare tactics. It really is a close call some years. This year we had planned for more teams than we had, so this year was not a close call. But like I said, last year there were teams that I think it was greedy and four-way play and freestyle teams that didn't get in.
I mean,
So
obviously, it's always our desire
right,
to let everybody in and, let everyone experience UpDiff. But yeah, we've had this conversation on the podcast before that as the size of UpDiff gets larger, meaning the number of teams and the number of runs, it's hard to maintain the same level of experience for all of our players and also manage logistics and everything else. So at some point, there is going to be a situation where we're probably not going to be able to accept everyone, or everyone's not going to get all their runs, like Kat just mentioned,
right.
all of those things. So obviously we want everybody to experience UpDiff, and we'd love it if everybody got in every year, but it's not as easy as perhaps people may think.
So
Yeah,
Brian, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say to tag on that, like I feel like at least for the past two, if not three, up diffs, I've felt like, oh, we're the next one is gonna be way worse. Like and I feel every time like we're more and more up against that, like it's not gonna work out next time. Like we can't scale anymore or something like that. Also, I'm not really sure what this person thinks we're getting out of. Like, I'm not even sure what we would be getting out of scare tactics. Like, if they think we're trying to drum up more entries. Like, I can't even like. I love conspiracy theories, but when I can't even figure out what the end game is, like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I had some additional ones.
Yes, please.
So for a few, I did actually just figure out what is the average score. So for registration, it was like 4.8, which like out of 5, that's pretty amazing. It feels
Yeah.
like. Um, Again on the mixed signals, one person said, as a first timer, the process was amazingly easy. Registration was easy and painless. And then another person said that the website was not simple or straightforward and that they had to call friends for help. So that's two people that had vastly different experiences. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much easier we can make it. I struggle with that. I've got some ideas. The one thing that was pretty unanimous about, or not unanimous, but like apparently several people had a problem with the rankings resetting, and that was
Right.
something that I noticed the last updiff, and I thought I had fixed, and I did a bunch of testing, and I couldn't get it to happen. So there must be some weird peculiarity. And people also expressed like they didn't like clicking the up and down arrows, which I get. So I will try to make that a better experience. I don't know if I can make it drag and drop, but I'll work on that and definitely try to make it not reset the rankings because I know that has to be like a horrible experience.
Right. Yeah, you do all that work to put them in order, and then you have to redo it. That sucks.
Yeah. And the other one is wanting us to not depend as much on Facebook as a communication tool, and I think we kind of independently identified that we need to find
Yeah, that's actually
another platform.
the next topic. So
Okay.
yep. Jack
We-
and Dre, do y'all have anything do you remember about registration or say about registration in the comments or anything?
No, I
No.
largely ignore that.
I figured.
But I mean, that's how things roll with the team. Like,
Right.
we all can't have our
Friends.
hands in everything, otherwise we won't get anything done. So
Right.
definitely Kat and Brian are the ones making that registration process happen.
Mostly Brian, but yep. All right, next topic was communication. And I don't know, Brian, did you do an average on this one?
I didn't. I did
Okay.
award banquets and the competitive experience.
All
I
right.
didn't do a deep dive on the others yet.
So communication, 71% of the people said get rated at a 5, 20.1% rated at a 4, and 6.5% rated at 3, and 2.4% rated at a 4. So, pretty good. I mean, when let's see, 91% said it was a 4 or a 5.
Yeah.
Um, People, loved the live fact sheet for the most part. Um, a lot of people didn't like using Facebook. And they're like, emails are better. So my explanation for that is that I've tried to use emails at
Mm.
early updifs and they would go to spam and people wouldn't get them at
People
all.
aren't getting them. Wrong email
Um,
submitted, email errors, sending two different emails, that whole thing.
right.
We spend
So
so much time talking about email.
that's why we moved to Facebook. I have tried using the event page as the tool for communication in the past. It is horrible at sending out notifications, and it's horrible for telling me when someone has posted on the page. Like, I don't get those notifications, even though I'm the person who created the event.
Are you talking about through Facebook?
Yeah, like
Okay.
the actual event page, people are like, don't use the discussion page, use the event page. That doesn't work either. We've tried it, it doesn't work. I get that the
Darn
Facebook
algorithms.
discussion page is not ideal. Brian and I have actually already talked about, other options. So that is something we are looking into, especially since Facebook deleted the UpDog Challenge business page right
Yeah.
before UpDiff. So that was like the real eye opener that, if that can happen, like if that had happened to the discussion page, we would have been completely
Screwed.
screwed. So, because of that, we are definitely looking for another communication alternative.
I
Yeah,
know when. Go ahead, Dre.
I mean, I think we could look at an app or something. I've seen that happen at several different events where they have apps with that specific event as like a button. So multiple organizations could use it. You could have it on your phone, click that, and it brings up all your UpDiff information. So we could look at, something like that, a third-party app.
Yeah, maybe Brian, we could look at something before the freestyle invitational, and then we can use it at the freestyle invitational as a test.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah.
A Discord server might be a good option too. That was something I was gonna look into.
What is that?
It's you can just set up your own Discord server. You don't host it. They host it, but it's like a real-time communications platform. You can set up different channels with different
Like your own
topics.
Facebook?
Kinda, but it's more chat oriented, but you can have channels that only certain people can post to, but everyone else can like read from, and it's really good about giving you notifications when new stuff comes up. So that I mean, also if anyone that's listening to this has suggestions for us to look
Yeah.
at.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I was gonna say similar to what Dre had said. Like, and I don't know if anybody has experience or maybe you designed something like this. Let us know. But I know and Brian, you just got back from a conference. I know whenever I used to go to an educational conference, there was an app you downloaded that had all the sessions listed and you
Yep.
could read about things and then pop in and see where there were places to eat in this building versus this other building. And so it was really nice. Everything was confined for you. You weren't going out to Facebook or the internet or your email to find things. But yeah, if we always love to harness the power of the UpDog community. So if anybody has an inside track on something like that, Brian at updogchallenge.com.
Yeah, I've certainly used one of those.
Copycat.
I was peeking at my phone to see if I still have those apps installed, but I don't. So yeah, I've definitely used those before I think it was a dock diving event. I don't think I've ever used it before for disc. So that's interesting. I'm certain some of our flyball people will have crossovers, different lanes, like those kind of events. So hopefully one of our crossover athletes will have some ideas of a good app for us.
I did find out the other day that the Google Sheets, I didn't know this, and I don't know why I've never bothered to look, but you can ask Google Sheets to notify you whenever there's changes to a document. So, like, it may be as simple as the live fact sheet and, tell everyone, go do this, turn on these notifications, and then you'll get and you have your choice of being told about every notification or about getting an email, a daily email that says, if there was a change or not. But that's the worst case scenario is we can do that. So, a couple people, commented, and I know Dre had the same problem, that the address for the Thursday banquet wasn't on the live fact sheet. The problem was it was there. It's just the banquets were listed in two places and it wasn't the first place the banquet was. So, and people didn't like keep looking, which makes sense why you wouldn't
Yeah.
keep looking.
And there's
but
a lot of information on that sheet.
yeah, there
in
is.
their defense.
And then the one comment that I thought again made me chuckle is something about the dates kept secret for months. They don't understand why the dates are kept secret for months. And just FYI, we don't keep the dates secret for months.
The dates of what?
Of UpDIF.
Oh.
Wait until
like,
we sign a contract.
Right. We have to sign a contract, and we generally, we kind of know when we want to do it, but as soon as we sign the contract and have secured lodging for our judges and, have secured the hotel blocks, we give that information to you guys. It's not a secret. And
Interesting that a lot of people think we're up to nefarious things.
right.
Shady.
Well, and after the whole lodging scramble for 2026 and us having to get that information out early due to a competitor kind of going behind our backs to find the dates, we will be keeping them a secret a little bit longer next year, but certainly not for months.
Right. And we only do it to make sure, like you
Right.
said, everything is secure so
Right.
that we don't want to tell a date and then be like, oh, just kidding.
Everybody
Right.
booked
And then-
Airbnb.
Right. And you've already done
Like
legwork, you've already, put deposits down and things like that. So
Right.
ramble.
Brian,
Give
did you have any call outs about lodging? Or sorry, communication?
I think is that where some folks recommended using the agility gate,
Yeah.
whatever it is. I think that's a good idea. That we either leverage that or build something that can do that. I think the problem is it requires good cell service, which not every venue we have has that. I think the one we're going to next year does, right?
Yeah. We should have that.
Yeah,
for
we
the
should
next
have that
couple
going
years.
forward.
like moving forward, I think we're going to try to make sure that that's,
Yeah, we're gonna try to stay in civilization.
Yeah,
yeah.
we don't need that much challenge again. So I
Right.
think
So,
Yeah,
I
Jack,
definitely think we should try to make that happen.
Jack talked to Stefan about it at UpDog X because they were using Agility Gate at UpDog X, and he talked to Stefan about us having our own version because our needs are a little different than Agility Gate needs. So we could probably walk down that road again.
Yep.
So you guys, Trey, Jack, have any communications comments?
I like communication.
I like comments.
Okay, all right. Next topic is lodging. 56.2% of you gave it a 5, 28.4 gave it a 4, and 13.6% gave it a 3. No like significant theme to the comments other than people love being closer to a city, closer to food, that sort of thing. Some people loved their Airbnbs and thought it was easy to get them, and other people thought there weren't enough Airbnbs. I think it depends on when you looked. Like if you looked a year out, it was hard to find Airbnbs because people don't put their Airbnbs up that far in advance. But if you looked 6 months out, you probably had more of a choice. Obviously, Decatur is not some sort of huge vacation destination spot. So,
Wow.
it is going to.
Dawn is not going to be happy with that comment.
I'm just saying, it's not like Helen where there's like a million rental cabins. Like that was the one advantage that Helen had was that there were, everybody has a rental cabin up in North Georgia mountains. That this area is not like that. So obviously
Yeah.
it'll be a little more limited.
Yeah. Plus, I heard that some people got their cars stuck up at the cabins up in the mountains and things like that. So it's not always, the best. to do that.
You heard that, or maybe you went and helped pull a car off the side of a mountain.
I don't know.
Anyway, all right, so that's enough about lodging. The next question was about Fireball and Cosmic, UpDog, and what people thought of those. I just took some of the comments. I didn't do the percentages or anything. Many comments were that they wanted more spots for Cosmic UpDog. And the only way that could have happened was to do it more nights because, those lights are expensive. Like trying to run multiple fields of Cosmic is not logistically possible at this
Right.
time. You can't do it. We couldn't start earlier because it wasn't dark. We
Right.
can't go later because we had a cutoff with the park. But maybe if we do it again, we can do it 2 nights or 3 nights or something. We'll see.
Yeah, we're happy that people enjoyed it and they wanted more of it. I mean, that's great to hear. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we offered an extracurricular activity. You guys liked it and want more of it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Somebody said that they thought that there was going to be a Fireball workshop, but that there wasn't. I thought I'd let you speak to that.
So there was, I mean, it depends on, I guess, how you define workshop. There was an extensive players meeting followed by an opportunity to shadow the head judge who developed the game. And then you had an opportunity to try out judging with a head judge standing behind you, giving you pointers and things like that. A lot of people might consider that a workshop. Maybe some other folks thought something different was going to happen with like a PowerPoint or something. I'm not sure.
People got to
Well,
play.
and then another comment was that we needed more experienced Fireball judges.
So it sounds like we need a workshop.
I just thought that was funny since the whole purpose was to help people learn how to judge Fireball. So
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I am being coy a little bit, obviously, but it's we are doing multiple things at one time there. We're running an event. We're trying to keep things moving, letting people have a player's experience with Fireball at the same time as, trying to help out folks become comfortable judging. So if I didn't provide everything that you needed, you can always reach out to Jack at UpDog Challenge and maybe we can do like a, Zoom session or set something up like that to help you guys get more familiar with Fireball.
Yep. A lot of people said that they missed pairs, and I totally get that.
I miss pairs.
The reason why we didn't have pairs was because this was a new location for us. We couldn't start setting up until noon on Monday, and we just didn't know what we would have done in time on Tuesday to offer pairs all day.
Yeah.
And it just luckily we didn't because of the rain on Monday, we got an even later start. So and the field needed time to dry, so it was good that we weren't using other fields on Tuesday morning. So anyway, that's why we didn't have pairs. We certainly intend to hold pairs again in the future. It just didn't work out for this location due to timing and all that kind of stuff. So
Yep.
Our apologies. Brian or Dre, any comments on Fireball or Cosmic?
I chimed in.
All right.
Wait, did we ever find out, did Team Bite or Team Fetch win?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
They did.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Everybody's a winner.
Okay.
We did have some complaints about we had published that one game was going first and then the other game, and then that got changed at the last minute by the head judge. That was out of our control, but next time we'll communicate better with anyone who's running any of these events to make sure that the information put out is accurate. All right, so the next questions were about the banquets, the Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday/Sunday banquet. So Brian, you said you did averages for banquets?
Yes. So for that one, it was not a numeric, but went from excellent to poor. So I just
Right.
mapped those to a 5 to 5-to-1 scale.
Yep.
So overall, it would rank a 3.7 as an average.
For Wednesday or for all banquets?
Oh, you know what? Probably just for Wednesday. Yeah, that's my bad. I didn't do it for each one.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've got them written down, so
I
I
can
can.
Okay,
just
then
make
yeah,
up,
if you've got them,
make
then
up
yeah.
a number for Thursday.
All right. So we have the average for Wednesday. For Thursday, 73.4% people said it was excellent. 7.1 said very good. 4.1 said good. And did not attend was 15%-ish. And then Sunday, we had 32% not attend, which makes sense because it was Sunday morning, we were heading home. 26% it was excellent, 24% said it was very good, and 16% said that it was good. And then there were the comments about the awards banquets. We'll start with Wednesday. There was one or two complaints, and let me stop. I should have said this at the very beginning of the podcast. You're going to be hearing more about like the negative stuff because that's what catches our attention and like, makes us think, oh gosh, do we need to fix something? When in reality, the vast majority of comments were like super positive, loved it, great, you guys rock, that sort of thing. So please don't think that the things we're calling out were by like a ton of people. Like literally, this is just, one to a handful of people that might have said
Yeah.
something.
Whenever I'm feeling down, I go and I read those comments.
The good ones,
Yep.
just ignore the bad ones.
Really
Yep.
That's awesome. So a couple people were upset that cumulative awards didn't have a designation of placement, which I found interesting because the cumulative awards have never had a designation of placement. When we did the magnets, they didn't. When we did the cups, it didn't. Like,
Right.
that's just too costly. If you've ever had custom things printed, like you get, you have to do like 20 at a time or 40 at a time or something like that. So just doing the games, like having a unique award for each game is costly because now we only have two levels worth of a game or that sort of thing. So while that's a great idea, it's just not cost effective to
And
have that.
There's also like an artwork charge, so
Right.
it'd be like at least like
Time.
$50 for the artwork charge for each
right.
one, and it's all like, and it's not like, so if we did that, maybe we drop the date off and then we just buy a bunch and use it for the next 10 updifs. Like that would be maybe the only way to make that
Right. You
work.
could have
Yeah.
the same magnet every year for the next 5 years.
Like we had somebody comment saying that the coasters were like 15-cent coasters or something.
10 cent.
Okay, 10-cent
10 cent.
coasters. I would challenge that person to find anywhere that you can get a coaster printed like that is not a piece of paper. That, like Brian said, you have artwork charges. You have a minimum that you have to order. That is definitely one of the more difficult awards to figure out what we're going to give because we have a lot of them in terms of like all the games and top
Levels
15
and
level one
cumulative and
cumulative, right.
average.
So there's a lot of them, so they can't be a lot of money. But you want to make it somewhat special. So like Kat said, we've done plastic cups in the past, we've done discs in the past, we've done
Magnets.
ribbons,
Big magnets, little magnets.
big magnets, little magnets. I wanted to mix it up. I thought people might enjoy the coasters. We'll see what next year brings. Like Brian said, one way to do it might be to just keep it with no year on it, just say top 15 and buy a bunch of them so that we can get a little bit lower price. That might allow us to get something a little bit nicer. But then you get the same thing every year. So if you are a person that is in the top 15 a lot, be prepared to get something similar every year.
And those coasters were equivalent in price, if not maybe a little more expensive than like the cups and the magnets.
No, they were, yeah.
So
yeah. They're nice coasters. I like them.
Yep,
I
do too.
love coasters.
Thursday night, there were several comments, and if I were filling out the survey, I would have put this comment on there as well about running out of food. I was very hangry about that situation myself.
Well, because we were the last ones to eat. The
We were the
founders,
last ones to
so
eat,
none
and
of us got our meals.
I literally walked by tables of people with food piled high. I watched a few people ahead of me in line, like take multiple servings of a main dish, and my mouth was just dropped open, like, oh, what the heck? You know, I was just surprised at how hungry our people were. When you signed up for the banquet, you had to choose the beef or the pasta, and I saw people walking away with both. So I mean, some of it I will put on the
Catering.
museum because they should have had someone dishing out beef or veggie pasta, like, because they made us make that choice. They should
Yeah.
have had someone, saying, did you choose beef or did you choose veggie pasta?
Yeah.
But I'm also putting it on our competitors for being hungry little hippos. So,
Wow.
well, I
You heard it here first.
like the game, Hungry Hungry Hippos. Anyway,
Yeah. I mean,
so
like we did on Saturday with
Texas
Texas
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse, there was somebody there like portioning the amount going onto the plates, and we had enough that night.
Right,
Everybody had enough. So I guess we realize what we need to do.
right.
Yeah.
We definitely need to have people working the line.
Yeah.
Well,
At the end
there
at
were
the
a
end
few-
of
What?
I think there were a few anecdotal incidents of people like joking about how they didn't buy a ticket to eat and then still did.
and
So I
still
mean, we
ate.
gotta.
Oh.
On Thursday?
So
Well,
I think we've got to like enforce the wristband and have people dole out
Well,
Yeah.
that's freaking awful, and they have to live with their lack of integrity, and I hope I don't ever find out who those people are.
Yeah, the person who I saw piling food on their plate, like I couldn't even tell you who they are, and they're lucky that I can't. So, like, I don't know who they are, and they
I
weren't
know that
recognizable enough.
by the time we got there, like Cody was sitting at our table, he was towards the end of the line, and he was letting us go first, and then basically there was next to nothing for him to eat, so then he just went and got like 10 desserts.
5.
I remember that.
There was a lot. He basically ate dessert as his meal because that was kind of all that was left. So maybe the person who piled their plate high never got dessert. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Okay. There were several people upset that the average was different than the wave one invite because we did just your average versus just your best average of 3 games. And people were expecting it to be, like I said, they were expecting it to be your 3 game average. We wanted it to be bigger than that. Like, we want it to be your average for the year. However, that meant some people who'd only played once got in with 1 score. And we recognize that that's probably not like the best thing. So I don't know, Brian and I can chat about if he has a way to pull your average for the year as long as you've played 3 times or more or something like that.
Yeah, we've got that. Or it's your average of your best 3 scores.
Well,
Is
no,
what
I'm thinking your average for the year, but you have to have played at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, I want it to be, if we're celebrating the top 15 average, I want it to be your actual yearly average. I don't want it to be just your 3 game average. Like,
But I agree that
but it shouldn't
in
just be
order to
one
be
game.
eligible, you need to maybe have at least 3 rounds because I don't think that's fair if somebody just walks out for 1 round that year, like Time Warp. Maybe you have a great round. That's a skill. Maybe you got lucky to have a great round that one time you played that year, but you need to have at least 3, I think, to have the average. Plus, if they only played one, they're probably
Well,
not
the
even
Q
at
points.
they're not even at UpDiff. They don't have enough
We
Well,
don't
points.
even
so
have
yeah,
enough rounds.
maybe Brian, maybe we do your average for the year if you qualified for that game.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, you had to have
Qualification points take care of that.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe that's another idea. So I
If
don't
you're
know.
amazing and you had a 1 round score that gets you qualified,
You
then
can't.
okay.
There's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
game you can do that in except
Far out?
maybe far out
Yeah.
for the people who throw 90 plus yards. But other than that, I don't think there's a game you can do that in.
Yeah, you're
Um,
right.
So anyway, so yeah, that was kind of our bad a little bit on that, but it was purposeful that it didn't match the invite, because we wanted it to be a little bit different. We wanted it to be more than just 3 games. Like we wanted it to be your yearly average, not just a 3-game average. So
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it was a fair point. It was definitely a good thing for us to look at and
Yep.
make sure we do it a little bit better next year. And I mean,
I think it was just we didn't communicate expectations, so people
Right.
thought, "Oh, I'm gonna get that award because
right,
we should see that,"
right.
and then they were disappointed when they didn't.
Absolutely. I would
Yep.
have been too. Like
Yep.
yeah, exactly. Just communicate a little bit better. And anytime that I think I'm going to get an award and I don't get one, I will be disappointed.
Well, and it's the first year that we've done the average. We've always done the cumulative, and for years, people have been saying on the survey that, the top scores should get recognition at that banquet, not just the cumulative people. And so this was our first year doing that.
Which meant twice the number of awards,
Twice
which
the
is
number
why I
of
had to go to the
awards.
15-cent poster.
Coaster.
They
Back
were
to the
not
coaster.
15 cents. But anyway, so we were trying to answer a request from past surveys, and well, we slipped up a little that a few people who only played once got some awards, but there's bigger problems in the world.
To,
So, but we'll make it
to,
better next time.
Yeah.
to tag on to that, someone I think in the comments at some point, I'm not even sure if it was one of the awards nights or somewhere else, was talking about it'd be great if we could recognize other kinds of achievement, which I think we're all about. Like, not that I want to add another category and add yet another however many hundreds of things we have to do, but it would be interesting to think about that, like what teams improved the most over the year or something. That's just more of a thinking out loud thing. Maybe that doesn't result in a tactile thing, but maybe some sort of digital thing on your profile. Maybe all this stuff that you don't get a tactile thing. We get Steven to do really cool artwork that's unique. And it's
Yeah.
on your profile. And you can pay to have it printed in physical form if you want.
Yeah. Anybody have any other call outs about the banquet comments?
Just the mixed signals thing. There were people that were like, I wish the banquets were shorter, and then people that were like, I wish you could recognize more teams. Like I don't think we can possibly do both.
Yeah, we hear that every year, but we have addressed it several times by making multiple award ceremonies smaller, shorter this year, different locations.
And there was acknowledgement of that this year. Like several people did say, hey, I appreciated that the awards were more streamlined. So thank you for noticing that we adapted to y'all's comments as best we could. But yeah, and I did write that down that there's no pleasing everyone in that category. Like every year it's that there's comments all over the place. So and I think
so that's why we try to look for trends. We
Yep.
try to see what are most of the people saying, and try to make adjustments that way. So just know that we do read all the comments, but we can't possibly react to all the comments.
Right.
Someone was particularly crotchety, and this one made me laugh.
These people are going to love our commentary on their comments.
Cumulative points is a measure of who played the most. It was all people who run events and get discounted runs. Frankly, I don't care about the cumulative award. Like, oh man, that person is.
No, they must have some inside knowledge.
I hope they don't go to that awards banquet night, because if I hated that, couldn't imagine sitting through that. But I mean, but also like, I challenge that. Like, we're recognizing people that have like a certain stick-to-itness, and persevere and like are dedicated to it. And I think that's worth Worth recognizing.
That's a
Yeah.
big thing that we do that's different from every other organization. We don't
Right.
just acknowledge the top scorers. We acknowledge also cumulative teams. And if you don't like that, you don't have to come to that awards banquet.
Exactly.
Not required.
Our next topic, the next few questions were about the players meeting, the judging, and the competitive experience. Brian, did you do any averages for those?
Just for the competitive experience.
All right. So players meeting, 67.5% of you gave it a 5, 28.4 gave it a 4, 3.6 gave it a 3. Judging, 68.6% of you rated it a 5, 27.2% rated it a 4, and 3.6 rated it a 3. And then competitive experience, Brian, you can just give us the average,
Yeah, the overall average was 4.5.
4.5. So and those
I
all,
like that overall average. We should do
Yeah.
that for them. It gives
Yeah.
us a good sense of like overall what did people think.
and looking at the numbers, I would bet that player meeting and judging came out to like 4.6-ish, 4.65-ish maybe. So, anyway, overall competitive experience, some of the comments that were outtakes for me. Someone made a comment that they didn't compete on any of the big competitive fields, which confused me because all the field, like there's no rhyme or reason to who's on what field. Like they were like, well, I was on this field and this happened, but I wasn't on any of the big competitive fields. So I just wanted to take a minute to clarify that at no time, there's an asterisk to this statement, but at no time was there any like logic to who was on what field. Like literally, it's random as to how I assign you, and it varies by day. Like you get assigned to a group for the day, and that's the group you're with, and the field you're assigned to is completely at random. So there is no big competitive field. With that said, I mentioned this in a previous podcast. My intention this year was that on Sunday, the top 50-ish teams for fragility would play in a 2-hour time block, and the top 50-ish teams for four-way play would play in a 2-hour time block. But that all got blown to heck when we merged Sunday into Saturday. So it kind of stayed intact for fragility on Saturday night, but since four-way play turned into walk up, that got blown away. So just to be clear, there are no big competitive fields. Another one, someone wanted to know why we didn't move some of the Sunday runs to Friday. Very simple answer for that is that we didn't shift gears until Saturday morning. We kept hoping that the weather would change for Sunday.
Yeah,
And
because it was changing. Like it kept being
Better.
pushed back further and further. Yeah. So
Right. So that's why we didn't run any on Friday. We didn't know we were going to do that. Someone said, oh, this one it was mentioned several times, and it was mentioned last year as well. And I thought that we had a conversation with the judges that would have clarified it, but apparently it didn't. So we need to maybe test our judges or something on the straddling rule and greedy boom and throw and go prior to UpDIF next year, because there were quite a few comments that said judges were making bad calls based on the straddling rule. Now, whether the competitors are confused about the straddling or the judges are, who knows?
I mean, we went over the straddling
I know.
rule with the judges at the judges meeting.
Yeah.
I know. But
And we talked about the clarification to boom and the
Yep.
straddling rule there.
Yep.
So that's interesting.
Yes.
I mean, we can always continue to try to educate and make sure that all of our judges are following the rules the way that they're supposed to.
yeah.
And that we, like you said, and on the other side, educating our players and making sure that they understand what the judges are going to call as well.
Right. Another one, and this was totally our bad on us. I didn't even realize that it happened. It shouldn't have happened. Is that greedy got set up differently on different fields? It should have all been set up to where XYZ, throwing zone
Right.
one was on a certain side, but because the sound tints were backwards, The people that set up the greedy field set it up in relation to the sound tent, and that shouldn't have happened. They should have been matching. And so that was our bad. We will make sure that that does not happen again.
This is why these comments are important.
Yes, it is. There's so much going on at UpDIF. It's real, especially in the morning, it's really hard to make sure that everything is set up that way. Like we tell our head judges to make sure certain things are done. We have different people doing course setups. So things kind of get like crazy and out of control in the morning, and we try our best to make everything as consistent as possible, but we need to work on how to
We do have a couple players
do it.
that do arrive early in the morning, and they tend to check out the fields and make sure that we've done our due diligence and that we did it right, because they're looking to strategize for the day. And I think that, you know, they have noticed some things in the past,
Right.
and have told us, and we've changed it so that it is that way.
A few people commented that some fields had cones and some didn't. Again, that shouldn't happen. We tell our head judges to make sure that's all correct, but maybe we need to make like a checklist, and the head judge literally has to like check it off
Yeah,
to
or
make sure things have happened.
or have like a runner that checks like at 8:30 or something.
Yeah, even
The
that.
runner is not going to have the same knowledge and experience as the head judge. We could have them check their field, and submit that sheet that everything is correct with that signed off before they start judging. That gets passed before the
Yeah.
score sheet.
Write that down.
You know, and then at the end of the day, you know, or whatever, when the next person
Right.
comes in, they have to
Doesn't need to
sign.
go with that.
No, I mean you can like I don't want it on here. We can set it separate. Sorry. One or two people said that the fragility fields were set up wrong, but consistent, like that they were all identical, but that they were wrong.
Oh, they did say something about like the spacing or the position of the jumps, right?
Yeah, they were talking about the back jump, which the back jump is supposed to be 3 feet off of the line. And it sounded like maybe it wasn't, which surprises me considering who set up the fields. I didn't check it though. Normally I do. Obviously, by putting
Just on time.
fragility on Saturday instead of Sunday, that fell through the cracks. So that I'm sorry that I did not do my due diligence, but I will give myself a pass because we did 1,200 runs that day. But that was on us.
Nobody gets a pass, Cat.
If that was not accurate. Another one was that there was a few comments about how many teams moved on for freestyle, and like there was one comment that, oh, all the youth should have, or there should have been, you know, this many youth that moved on, or there should have been more mini or mega dogs that moved on. And to be fair, we use a percentage. And this year, 45% of the teams moved on. So that came out to the numbers that it came out. Like to pull more teams in from smaller divisions is actually not fair.
Right.
So just kind of wanted to throw that out there that
won't be a thing next year because we're not doing two freestyle, so we don't even need to
definitely
problem solve anymore. Problem solved.
Right?
Admin
We
team
fixed it already.
gets a cookie. There you go. Admin team doesn't ever have to do that again.
Hey guys, I'm going to jump in here real quick. We are going to split this one. This one turned out to be quite a long conversation with all of us. I'm going to split this one into 2 parts, so this will be the first part. I hope you're enjoying it. Second part will come out soon, and you can listen into the rest of it. In the meantime, just like we always say, be kind to each other, be kind to your animals. See you at part 2. So it sounds like we need a workshop.